Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast. My name is Frank. I'm the host of the show. Jumping on for a quick live this evening to discuss a couple of things. One, I just found out within the last hour or so, and I'm going to talk about a television actor. I know this is a movie podcast, but one of my favorite sitcoms of the 1980s was the show Night Court, which starred Harry Anderson, John Larroquette, Marky Post, and Charles Robinson, who played Mac. He came on a couple seasons into the show and worked on there till the end of the series run. Fantastic actor. He was great on that show. He passed away today, I believe at age 75 from cancer complications. So I'm very sorry to hear that. Condolences to his friends and family and fans. Like I said, Night Court was one of my favorite shows of the 80s. Hilarious show. And he played a great straight man to all the zaniness that was going on around him. And he was great. And they also was when I was reading the article about Charles Robinson, they mentioned his work in a show called Buffalo Bill, which was a show that if you can find it and you're a fan of Dabney Coleman, it's one of the best shows of the 80s that just didn't last. It lasted 2 seasons. So Dabney Coleman played a radio talk show host, super obnoxious. Just it's funny because I think that show was kind of a precursor to not so much an anti-hero, but he was a unlikable lead character. But Dabney Coleman was such a talented actor. He was so great at playing those types of characters. And Charles Robinson was on Buffalo Bill. He was the makeup artist on the show. And he was the guy that didn't take any garbage from anybody, including Dabney Coleman's obnoxious Buffalo Bill character. So he was kind of the guy that would burst his balloon. He was fantastic on that show. And I'm glad they mentioned it when they were talking about his career. He's had a long career in theater and television. He started in the 70s and worked all the way through basically almost to the end of his life. So he had a very fantastic career as a character actor. And like I said, he was outstanding on Night Court and did a great job there. So condolences to his family. Again, Charles Robinson is passed at age 75. So I wanted to come on tonight. I recorded an episode last night with my friend Mike, a review of Brewster's Millions, which will be released on audio this coming Saturday. But I wanted to come on tonight, one, to discuss the death of Charles Robinson and to, again, talk about kind of my bigger goals for the podcast. So if you're watching live tonight, I'm live on the YouTube channel, which is Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast. I'm also live on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Let Me Bend Your Ear. Also live on Twitch, which is Bend Your Ear Pod, and on Twitter at Bend Your Ear Pod. And those that follow my personal Facebook page, I am live there as well. So come on tonight. Like I said, the bigger goal of the podcast and what I've been trying to do over the last few months is grow the show. So I think coming on for lives like this and having people come on and interact with them is something that I want to provide even outside of recording an episode for the podcast. So when I have the opportunity, like I said, I'm going to come on tonight for a quick live. So if anybody is tuning in now and would like to come on and discuss, it's going to be open forum for the next however long I'm on here. Like I said, I want to come on and give opportunities for people that either watch the videos or listen to the audio feed to come on and talk about movies. So on this one here, it's going to be a free form. I'm not going to be reviewing anything. Like I said, I wanted to talk about the death of Charles Robinson, the actor on Night Court. So again, I wanted to start there, but I want to open it up. If anyone's out there listening or watching right now, please feel free to come on. I'm going to put the link up in a second if you want to discuss anything about movies with me. I know Black Widow opened this weekend. I haven't seen it yet. So if you've seen the movie, want to talk about it, have a review, discuss, what you thought about it, if you saw it, or any of the movies that are out right now. Like I said, I took my son to see the second Boss Baby movie last weekend, July 4th weekend. So he enjoyed that. So if you want to talk about any movies, talk about directors, actors, anything about the movie, industry or about movies themselves, this is going to be an open forum. Feel free to come on. If you have a question, put it in the chat. Let me go ahead and put the link up real quick here. Give me 1 second. All right, wherever you're watching this video, the link is in the chat room. So like I said, this is a browser-based link. So all you have to do is click on it, put your name in, I'll see you, and bring you on. Like I said, you can come on either full video and audio, and we can talk and interact together on the live here. Or if you want to just do audio only, that's fine as well. Either way, I'm flexible. Like I said, I just want to facilitate conversation about movies. And like I said, this is an open topic tonight. Like I said, I didn't have a review planned for tonight. I just wanted to jump on spontaneously and give the opportunity to interact with people. So Any questions you have, you want to ask me if you're watching right now, any questions about movies or directors or anything like that, feel free to either type a question in the chat here and I'll answer it, or if you want to get on and we can discuss anything you'd like. So to foster some conversation, if you've listened to any of the previous episodes over the last few months, I've been kind of on an 80s movies binge as far as that goes. I've reviewed, see off the top of my head, I've reviewed Manhunter, Fletch, Beverly Hills Cop, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Midnight Run. That's most of the 80s movies I think that I've tackled. Fletch. So if you have comments on 80s movies, we can actually make that the topic for tonight. So if you listen to the show over any length of time, you know I am a 80s kid. So from 1980 to 1990 were my teenage years. So that's really a lot of my movie going is informed by 80s movies. So that's kind of my wheelhouse. Like I said, I've seen movies from all different eras, but you know, the 80s are my specialty as far as my memories and my childhood and the movies that I've seen. So if anything about 80s movies, and a lot of people out there, even that are not 80s kids, love 80s movies. So if you want to tell me what your favorite 80s movies are, I want to talk about that. That's definitely a subject I can talk about tonight. Like I said, I've reviewed a lot of my favorite ones, the ones I've just named. There's plenty of other ones that I didn't name that are fantastic movies. I haven't really reviewed any of the heavy dramas that came out in the 80s. And one that comes to the top of my head is one of my favorite actors is Gene Hackman. He's fantastic in everything. He's one of my favorite actors of all time, actually. And he's been in some great movies. He's been in some good action movies in the 80s and also some great dramas. He was in Mississippi Burning, which came out in 88, which is a fantastic movie, racial drama, but he's great. Willem Dafoe is in it as well. He did a movie called The Package that came out, I think, in 86, which was directed by Andrew Davis. He's best known for directing the first Steven Seagal movie, Above the Law, and The Fugitive with Harrison Ford. But he directed a movie called The Package with Gene Hackman and Joanna. I forgot her last name. Joanna. She's in Roger Rabbit, and I just forgot her last name. But they're both in the movie as well. And great movie, great action movie. Tommy Lee Jones is in that one too, actually. That's a great action movie with Gene Hackman. So as far as my actors, some of my favorite actors of all time, I'm a big fan of the old school actors. So my favorites are Gene Hackman, as I stated. Gene Hackman, Paul Newman are two of my favorites. Again, obviously, they're actors from the golden age of movies. And Dustin Hoffman, of course, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino. But I'm a big fan of character actors as well. And I think back in the 70s and 80s, and even in the 60s, character actors became movie stars. I think Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, when the 70s kind of movie, what's the word I'm looking for? Revolution. So it kind of segued out of the kind of old school movies into the new directors. So at the time, of course, you had Lucas, Spielberg, De Palma, Coppola, John Milius, Walter Hill. So that revolution of movies and young filmmakers coming out of film school, really Hal Ashby as well, brought about actors because the movies were grittier, were more grounded than the movies that came before it. And you had actors that I think in other eras would be just character actors that ended up becoming movie stars. So those are kind of my favorite type of actors, like Dustin Hoffman, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino. They weren't the typical leading man like your Cary Grant or even your Paul Newman, your handsome leading man type. They were more regular looking guys, they were just great actors. And I'm a big fan of character actors, actors that kind of, you see them in a movie and they're going to be good. The most recent examples I can give is one of my favorite actors is Paul Giamatti, who's always great in everything he does. Even if it doesn't even matter the quality of the movie per se, even if the movie is not the best, if Paul Giamatti is in it, he's going to give a great performance. And he's one of my favorite actors as well, currently working. Of course, Willem Dafoe is great. He's great in everything he does. But I love those actors that kind of, go into different roles and they're just always great. Not to say that I don't love movie stars or movie star performances or entertaining movies. You have your Tom Cruises, Leonardo DiCaprio, things like that. Matt Damon, all great actors as well. But I am a big fan of the character actors that you see in movies and you go, oh, I know that guy, or I know that girl, or I know that actor, and they've been in hundreds of movies, and And that's where most actors' careers kind of lie if you're successful in being an actor, because obviously that's a very tough profession to be in. And either you're way up here as a movie star in the stratosphere, or if you're fortunate enough to be working as a working actor regularly, that's really the sweet spot. If you can, have roles in movies and television and really be consistently working as an actor for decades, that's a privilege, and it's hard to do. And the ones that are really great at it are fantastic. So again, if you want to come on live, if you have any questions in general, like I said, this is a free-flowing open forum episode. So like I said, if you haven't listened to the podcast before, this is the Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast. My name is Frank. I'm the host of the show. The tagline is I discuss and review movies new and old, and that's basically what I do every week. I pick a movie to review and discuss. I'll either discuss it on my own, or if I have a guest on, we'll discuss a movie together. So that's what I do. But like I said, I wanted to jump on really quickly tonight to see if anybody wanted to come on to discuss movies. Like I said, nothing specific. I brought up an 80s movies topic. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely come on board. Tell me what your favorite 80s movies are. Or if you want to talk about anything else, like I said, I'm going to be on for a little bit here. If don't get any guests, then I'll wrap it up. But like I said, this is just a free-flowing live episode. So I'm going to put it out there. What's your favorite 80s movie, favorite 80s actor? What did you enjoy about movies? What makes you a movie buff? Let's talk about any of that. So again, you can listen to the podcast on Spotify or wherever you get podcasts. The podcast is currently available officially on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, TuneIn, Castbox, Podbean, and Amazon Music. So you can get the audio version of this show on all of those platforms. You can also download episodes of the podcast from the show's website at any time. That website is letmebendyourear.com. You can also email the show if you have a suggestion about the show, comments about the show, or if there's a movie you'd like me to watch and review and discuss on the podcast. You can email the show at bendyourearpodcast@gmail.com. And if you're a fan of the show, I would like you to, if you don't mind, subscribing to the YouTube channel. That is Let Me Bend Your Ear Podcast. The Facebook page is facebook.com/Let Me Bend Your Ear. The Twitter page is @BendYourEarPod. And this video here and any of the shows that I record live are available on all of those platforms. The easiest probably being the YouTube channel, so you can watch it live or you can watch it later. So if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the Facebook page. As I stated at the beginning of this particular video, my goal for the podcast, and has been my goal over the last 3 to 4 months, is to really focus on growing the audience and growing the reach of the show and providing more avenues where I can communicate with people that are fans of the podcast and they can communicate back with me, or even if they don't communicate back with me, just have more options on how they consume the podcast. So again, this is always going to be an audio podcast. That's how I started it. That I will never veer from that. I think that's the most effective form of podcasting still. So it will always be an audio one, but I've incorporated the video element because I think it's a good way to reach other people. And I know some people consume podcasts via YouTube or on live videos, or happen to watch it if they're live now when I'm on. So I wanted to provide that aspect of it. And plus, this is another way I can easily get people to come on for interviews, or like I said, if somebody comes on tonight for a live discussion, it's real easy to do. So the technology has made it easy. I've done this podcast. I just passed my 3rd anniversary. So the technology and the ways for me to reach a bigger audience have become much easier than even just 3 years ago. So that's fantastic. And I'm very grateful. Like I said, I was intimidated by the video aspect at first. And I wanted to make sure that I embraced it, and I really actually love it. I really am a big fan of the video aspect of this, and it's fantastic for me. I'm a big fan of doing it, and it's been very easy to do. So I'm very glad about that. So again, this is an open forum short video. If you want to come on real quick and discuss, like I said, I threw out 80s movies, but it can be any subject that you want. So please feel free to come on, or if you have a question, come into the chat first. If you want to chat me a question, I'll be happy to answer it. If you want to come on audio only, like I said, just click on the link that's in the chat room wherever you're watching this now. Just click on that link. It'll just open a browser in your computer or on your phone. You just put in your name, and then I'll bring you in. It's really as simple as that. So let's do that. So give me 1 second. I just realized apparently I'm about to go low on my battery on my computer. My apologies. I'm not going off the air. Just give me 30 seconds to plug in, and then we'll continue the show. 1 second. All right, sorry about that. So, no one will ever accuse this podcast of being a professional operation. So, my apologies. I thought the battery was actually fully charged before I started. So, obviously, it was not. So, welcome back. So, again, this is the Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast. I'm on for a short live video tonight. So, again, the question I have out there right now: what is your favorite '80s movie? So, if you're watching right now, type in your answer. Let's start there. I'm going to put the question in here for anybody that pops in the live, and tell me what your favorite '80s movie is, or tell me what your favorite movie is. Um, and we can talk about that. I'm always love to hear people's thoughts on what their favorite movie is. And one thing I want to communicate as a podcaster and as a host of a movie podcast, a couple things that I want to make clear out there as far as my perspective on movie criticism and movie reviews. There are movies that I like and movies that I don't like. What I won't be doing here is being snarky about movies or being what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking? You know what? I won't be. I have a very varying taste with movies, and what I don't like and what I see on social media a lot, kind of like with anything else, is there's a smug kind of air of being above other movie fans. So let me give you an example. I always throw Fast and Furious out there. I'm not a huge fan of those movies, but I recognize the fact that there are many fans of that movie and that franchise is hugely successful. So for me, I don't watch those movies. I've got a running, not a joke, because I'm actually very serious about it. And I don't know if it happens in this Fast and Furious 9, but I said if they go into space, that I would watch the movie in the theater, because what they've done is they've basically have gone, and I don't mean this even as a criticism. It's so over the top that they're just leaning into that and leaning into what situations can we put these characters in, because people love it. And like I said, I don't even mean that as a criticism. So for me, if they go into space, that I'm going to actually give them respect and give them my money to go see it, because I have to see that. And again, like I said, I'm not saying this to be ironic or snarky. I'm completely serious. So if they do it, I'm there. But again, I like all types of movies. So as far as me, my movie fandom began when I was 7, 8 years old, and I talked about this in the Richard Donner tribute episode with Superman the movie. So when I was a child, I had obviously certain movies that I watched, but I'm a hardcore movie buff. I love all types of movies, independent films, dark movies, dark comedies, horror films, all genres of movies, and I like movies that entertain me and that are good. And it doesn't. And like I said, I can watch Transformers or I can watch the Coen Brothers, and anywhere in between, and they're all valid. They're all valid to me. Not one is more valid than the other. Uh, a type of movie is not more valid than the other. My only criteria when people ask me what type of movies I like, my answer is good ones, and I don't care what genre it is. If the movie's entertaining, it's good. It keeps me entertained for however long the movie runs, 2 hours, whatever. That's the kind of movies I love. And like I said, I've given my top 5 movies before, and I'll give them tonight too. And these are the movies, not that I think are the best movies that are ever made. Every time I give this list, this is my list of movies that impacted me the most as a movie goer. And those movies are Superman the movie, 1978, Citizen Kane, 1941, Schindler's List, 1993, Goodfellas, 1990, and Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981. So those are the 5 movies that I pick as my top 5 movies. And what I mean, and like I said, my top 5 movies are movies that impacted me and my love of film. So again, other directors that I'm big fans of in the 90s, the independent filmmaking kind of became front and center. And some of my favorite directors, I'll give you one right off the top of my head here. And I've reviewed one of his films for the podcast, and I will review other ones as the podcast continues, is writer-director John Sayles. Now, he started in the Roger Corman School of Filmmaking, and he was a writer. He co-wrote The Howling, the Joe Dante film, and he is a great writer-director in his own right. And he also is a well-known script doctor. So the most famous one I can think of is Apollo 13. I think he did Apollo. So basically what he does, I don't know if he still does it or not, but a lot of times what happens is movie companies will hire him to come in and do a polish of a screenplay. So they have a completed screenplay, but there may be something missing, some characterization, some plot that they want to punch up, and they'll hire John Sayles because he's a fantastic writer, and he'll do the work. They'll give him a fee, and he'll do the work uncredited. And I think Apollo 13 is one of those examples. But he's directed some fantastic movies. I'll start with the one I've already reviewed on this podcast, which is Matewan, starring first movie for Chris Cooper. James Earl Jones is in it. It's a phenomenal movie, basically based on a true story set in the coal mines of West Virginia, where it's a movie about the company shop and the attempt to unionize the coal miners in that area in Matewan. And the movie culminates in a violent confrontation. And that's a fantastic film. Another great film of his is called Lone Star, starring Matthew McConaughey, Chris Christopherson. Great film. Joe Morton's in it as well, who's been in several of Sayles' movies. That's a great film as well. He did a film called The Secret of Rowan Inish, which is kind of like a fairy tale, another great movie as well. So I'll review some more John Sayles movies. 8 Men Out, which is a great movie about the 1919 Black Sox scandal with Shoeless Joe and them throwing the World Series. So some great movies there. John Sayles is one of my favorite directors. Of course, Spike Lee is one of my favorite directors. His earlier film, now The Five Bloods, that came out last year, was phenomenal. Haven't seen BlacKkKlansman, but Do the Right Thing and Malcolm X are probably two of my favorite of his movies. Do the Right Thing is probably still my favorite Spike Lee film, 1989. That's classic. That's a modern day classic film. If you haven't seen it, definitely. If you haven't seen any Spike Lee movies, check out Do the Right Thing. That movie is phenomenal, with a great Danny Aiello performance. Great cast. You've got Danny Aiello, John Turturro, Richard Edson, Samuel L. Jackson in an early role, the late comedian Robin Duke, and it's a great movie. And it's set on one day in the summer in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. It's a fantastic film, so definitely check that out. So again, I've got the questions out there. If you want to come on, what is your favorite movie? I was starting in the 80s, but what's your favorite movie of all time? If you want to put it in the chat, even if you want to come on, if I see something in the chat, I'll respond to whatever your favorite movie is, and talk about that. So again, this is the Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast. This is a live video for tonight. This, like I said, this probably will not be on the audio feed. Like I said, I'll come on from time to time. A lot of times I'll come on during the day when I have 5 or 10 minutes and do a video from my phone. But I had the opportunity tonight to jump on and just kind of, like I said, I wanted to discuss the death of Charles Robinson from Night Court. Like I said, even though I don't do television, like I said, that was a show that I loved when I was a kid, and I was sad to hear of his passing. So again, this is a movie podcast, and I love talking about movies. I love talking about the art of making movies, directors, screenwriters, cinematographers. So if this video interests you, or if you have not listened to the podcast, please check it out. If you're a fan of the podcast and you listen to it specifically on any of the audio feeds, please do me a favor. 2 things. 1, rate and review the show. If you're a big fan of it, give it 5 stars. The ratings and reviews are a very important way you can help the show like this achieve higher results when people are searching for new movie podcasts. So again, obviously I'm an independent podcaster. I don't have a name recognition. So obviously the way for me to get the show out there is to have people like yourself that are watching or listening on the audio feed rate and review or recommend it on your social media, which is the second thing I'm going to ask. If you see any of my posts, especially on Twitter, I'll post about new episodes, about things like that. Please share those, like those, retweet them. If you know someone that is a movie fan that may be looking for a movie podcast or loves that stuff, and maybe it's not for you, that's fine. If you could recommend it to them, I would really appreciate that. Like I said, my numbers have slowly started to climb. My downloads have slowly started to climb, and that's been fantastic and phenomenal, because that's what I'm trying to do. And that's the purpose of really engaging in the video element of recording the shows on video and then sharing it on the audio feed. Because like I said, I want to give people the opportunity to discuss movies. And when I record proper podcast episodes, like I did last night with my friend Mike for Brewster's Millions, obviously I understand as a listener of podcasts, it's a little more compelling if I have guests to bounce conversation off of. Because obviously if you listen to this podcast, I usually fly solo. But I do understand that having conversation, having guests on, whether it's a live guest or an interview that I've set up, makes it a more compelling podcast. So that's what I'm definitely trying to do. So like I said, if you're watching right now, I see there's a couple of people on right now. Jump on. If you don't want to jump on, answer my question in the chat. The question in there is, what is your favorite movie? If you can type in there what your favorite movie is and you don't want to come on, that's fine. I'll answer the chat question, because I want to discuss. I love hearing what people's favorite movies are. I'm interested in to see what types of movies they like, why it's their favorite movie. And like I said a little bit earlier, this is not a forum for snarkiness or to make fun of whatever your favorite movie is. And if you think your movie is not worthy of being a favorite because it's a commercial movie, or maybe a lot of people don't like it, here, I'll tell you what, I'll start with my favorite movie. And I mean this, not favorite movie, but one of the movies I love to watch. And I know they even joke about it on Family Guy, is the Patrick Swayze movie Roadhouse. Now, if anyone knows 80s movies and you know Patrick Swayze, you know what Roadhouse is. Patrick Swayze, Sam Elliott, and Ben Gazzara being a great bad guy. So basically, he's a bouncer with a philosophy degree that comes into this town to clean up this bar that they're trying to get going. And Sam Elliott is his co-bouncer. But and I'm serious. I love Roadhouse, and I know, is it a critically acclaimed movie? Absolutely not. When I just described the plot, do people go, "Are you kidding me right now?" Absolutely. When I tell people that I love Roadhouse, people think that I'm actually being sarcastic or snarky. I am not. And I'm not even saying, I'm serious. This is not even something where I'm going, it's so bad, it's good. That's not my opinion of Roadhouse at all. I think it's a good movie. It's entertaining. There's action, there's fighting, there's great blues music actually by Jeff Healey. It's a great movie. Is it going to win an Academy Award? Of course not. Is it supposed to? No. But at the end of the day, movies are supposed to be entertaining. Yes, I love a film like Citizen Kane, or a serious work like Schindler's List, or a great film that elevates the art of movie making. I love those too, but I love entertaining, fun movies. That's what I'm saying. I'm a serious film fan, but movies are entertainment. I love popcorn movies just as much as I love deep art movies. And sometimes I love popcorn movies more, especially if you're in the mood to watch a popcorn movie. So that's my, people call it guilty pleasure. I don't even like calling it that, because that's even somewhat derisive. When I talk about Roadhouse, I like Roadhouse. I think Roadhouse is a good movie. Now, people may say you're crazy, and it's not. That's fine. And that's the beauty of any kind of art. It's subjective. So if you think Roadhouse is garbage, I'm okay with that. I don't. I think it's a great movie. It's entertaining. I love it. When it's on, I watch it to the end. I don't turn it off. I love Roadhouse. So what is your favorite movie out there? Anybody that's watching right now, tell me what your favorite movie is. Put it in the chat or come on. We can talk about it. I want to hear what your favorite movie is, who your favorite director is, who are some of your favorite actors. Why are you watching this particular podcast? What is it about it that's entertaining to you? Let's talk. Let's have that dialogue. Like I said, I want to actively seek out that dialogue with people that are listening to the show, either for the first time, checking it out now, or check it out on the audio feed, or have been listening or watching for a long time. I want to find out what you guys like, what type of movies you guys like, because hopefully that'll inform how I move forward with the show as well. The show's not going to change dramatically in any way. I'm going to review and discuss movies new and old. That'll always be what the podcast is about. But interacting with the people that are watching and listening, definitely that's important to me. I think it's a fun conversation to have. That's one of the main reasons I started this podcast. And even though I fly solo, one of the reasons I started it is because I don't have a lot of close friends that are huge movie buffs. So I really can't have those conversations with a lot of people that are close to me. My wife kind of likes movies, but she's not a movie buff like I am. I don't really have close friends that are movie buffs. So this podcast has been an outlet for me, even though maybe there's not people talking back, but they're listening or watching. It's been a way for me to express myself and my love of movies, and I love it. It's been fantastic. So like I said, we had our first live guest on the Gremlins episode that came on to talk to me briefly about what they thought about Gremlins. And like I said, I've had interactions on social media. I actually had someone interact with me yesterday regarding my review of Manhunter, which is the 86 film directed and written by Michael Mann, which is the first movie with Hannibal Lecter. And they made a comment about, after they listened to my review, they got a different perspective on the movie. And that's cool. And that's what I love. And that's what I'm trying to engineer here and trying to embrace, is having people interact with me either here live on the videos or on social media after they hear one of the podcast episodes. But again, like I said, I want to really incorporate this live element. I'm going to try to come on. Now, I record usually every Sunday for the actual podcast episodes where I review and discuss a movie or have an interview. But I want to try to do more live shows like this. And like I said, even if nobody comes on tonight or chats or posts a question, that's no problem. I'm going to keep continuing to do these lives, because I know being present on social media and continuing to do these lives, I know at some point people will start to interact once they see that this is something that I regularly do. And I'm going to try to do this as often as I can, when I can. Like I said, one of the main reasons I want to explain this part of it too, because I know people will say, Uh, I like the podcast, but I would prefer if you would have guests on every single week, which I would love to do. And I would love to have an interview set up every single week. The main reason that I don't is I have two small children. So wrangling them and working full time, that's really takes up a lot of my time. And scheduling interviews and the logistics that's involved with is kind of tough. And what I don't want to do is commit to interviews and then have to back out or cancel because things change. So flying solo on the podcast allows me the flexibility. If I want to record, since I'm recording live and the audio is going to be dropped later, I can come on if it's 11:30 at night or midnight, and I can record an episode, a half hour, 40-minute episode real quick without having to worry about the parameters of a schedule other than my own availability to do the show. So that's the main reason that I fly solo now. With that being said, I'm really making an effort with a live like this and doing my episodes live now, at least every Sunday, trying to do that on a regular basis as long as I'm available, is to give the opportunity for people like you that are watching or listening to come on and talk to me live or ask me questions live or to watch the show live if you prefer to, and then have it on the audio feed the following week. So that's really what I'm trying to do. It allows me to get shows in the queue in case something comes up and I can't record on a certain weekend. But I definitely want to do more live videos like this where it's not a podcast proper, but it's a opportunity for me to show more of myself, my love for movies, kind of where I come from when it comes to my movie fandom, and give the opportunity for you, the viewer, to either watch and consume what I'm saying or to even better interact with me. And like I said, I want to provide as many opportunities as I can to do that. Like I said, I would love to be able to do it on, a Friday evening at 8 o'clock at night or a Saturday at 2 in the afternoon, where more people can come on and watch and listen and maybe would interact. But, it is what it is at this point. So I've made a conscious decision not to allow my lack of availability to impede me doing the podcast, which has been a way that's worked for me. Like I said, so obviously it's late at night on the East Coast, but again, hopefully I'll get viewers from, other time zones, West Coast, Central Time Zone, Mountain Time Zone. So again, I'm going to try to make myself available as often as I can to do live videos like this, in addition to the weekly recording of the podcast. So like I said, if you're interested on coming on as a guest on the podcast, I'm going to put that call out there as well, because I normally don't do it on the podcast proper. But here, like I said, the easiest way, if you're interested on being a guest, whether you're a fellow podcaster or just someone that wants to talk movies with me on one of the live episodes, DM me on Twitter or email the show. The show email is bendyourearpodcast@gmail.com. That's the two best ways to get a hold of me. And I'll respond to you usually pretty much immediately after you hit me up on either DM or on email. I'll respond pretty quickly. Or if you have a movie suggestion. But again, I'm looking for guests to come on. Like I said, I'm actively pursuing that. And like I said, I'm going to try to make the logistics work of it. I mean, I'm actually going to be a guest on a podcast. Looking forward to that. I haven't been a guest on one almost since I started the podcast. So it's been about 3 years. So I'm looking forward to that. This coming Sunday, I'm going to be recording an episode with another podcast as a guest. So that's great. But I'm looking for guests as well. Or if you want to interact, or if you have a question you want me to answer on a next live episode, do that too. You can always DM me and say, hey, look, I'm not coming on, but I wanted to ask you about this movie or that movie. And if I see it, I'll save it. And then I'll try to answer your question on the next live. I'll maybe try to still get you to come on, but I'll answer the questions when I record the live video. So again, I'm going to be on for a couple more minutes here. I've been on about 35 minutes. See, a couple of people are still coming on. So again, this is a live free form video. If you looked in the chat, the link is there if you want to come on to talk to me. The question that I threw out there was, what is your favorite movie? Let me get an answer. Let me get somebody out there to answer what their favorite movie is, either in the chat or come on and we can talk about what your favorite movie is. Your favorite director, favorite actor, but what's your favorite movie? Like I said, I've given you some of my favorite movies. Obviously I think my favorite decade is the 80s because I grew up in that time. And those are the movies that really formed kind of my love of movies as well. But again, I can go around genre, around era. One of my other favorite genres of film is film noir. So if you're a fan of that, some of the classics of film noir are, Double Indemnity, Touch of Evil, the Orson Welles film, Night of the Hunter, which is another great film noir as well. Obviously, you have femme fatales and dark themes, and a good film noir is, everybody in the movie is a questionable character. Like no one is really a good guy or a bad guy. Everybody's kind of questionable in varying degrees. So that's another great film genre that I'm a fan of. So again, I'll stay on for a couple more minutes here. We've been on about 35 minutes. I'll probably go 45 unless we get a guest to come on. So come on, what is your favorite movie? Somebody come on, dip your toe in. Let me know what your favorite movie is. and we'll talk about it. Or like I said, click on the link in the chat, and we can come on and talk about what your favorite movie is. Again, oh, we have somebody here, and it's Mike. Hey, Mike, welcome back, buddy. What Dreams May Come. You know what? I have not seen that movie. I have not seen that movie. And I know from when I remember about the trailer and what it was about, beautiful visuals and kind of a unique film in Robin Williams' filmography. I haven't seen that movie, but that's a really, I have to check that one out. Why is it a movie that you like? Why is it one of your favorites? Yeah, no, I definitely want to check that movie out as well, and talk about that. I actually don't know who the director of that movie is. I want to know who it is. Let me see. Hold on. Yeah, I know. I know you're shocked I haven't seen it. I know, contrary to popular belief, I have not seen every single film ever made. I know I sometimes sound like I have, but I definitely have not. And oh, I'll tell you another Robin Williams movie I haven't seen, Bicentennial Man, which I know was his second collaboration with him and Chris Columbus. Obviously, the first one being Mrs. Doubtfire. But yeah, no, because it doesn't What Dreams May Come have to do with kind of death and things like that. I don't even know what his main character is, but it's one I have to check out. Yeah, and I know, like I said, the visuals were, from what I've seen in clips of the movie, were pretty impressive, and I know there's a lot of fans of that particular movie. But yeah, no, thanks, Mike, for jumping in with that. Cuba Gooding Jr. was in it. You're right. I forgot about that. I forgot he was in it. So yeah, I'll have to check. All right, that's one I have to check out. Hey, maybe you and I can review that movie on a future episode. Actually, that'd be one, because, like I said, that's another blind. Look, you found Brewster's Millions for me, so that's another one where it's different. I haven't seen What Dreams May Come, but I definitely know the film, and one I would be interested in looking at. Oh, Commit Suicide. Yeah, it sounds like a fun movie. That's a real uplifter. So yeah, no, I'll definitely check that out. Well, it's funny when you say his wife commits suicide, because a movie that's similar to that, and his character goes through, actually not his wife committing suicide, but his wife is murdered, is The Fisher King, which I have reviewed for the podcast. If you have not seen that, Mike, Fisher King, directed by Terry Gilliam, 91. It's got Jeff Bridges and Robin Williams, who's phenomenal in that movie. That's one of my favorite Robin Williams performances, and that's one of my favorite movies of the 90s. So I would definitely, if you haven't seen The Fisher King, check that out, Mike. I think that's a movie. If you liked What Dreams May Come, I think you'll like The Fisher King. That movie is phenomenal. It's a beautiful movie. It's beautiful visuals. Kind of the same thing. It's a visual movie. So Terry Gilliam is one of the members of Monty Python. He directed Brazil, Adventures of Baron Munchausen, and this movie, Fisher King. He did Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas as well with Johnny Depp. But yeah, Fisher King, definitely check it out. It's a phenomenal movie, and a phenomenal Robin Williams performance, and a phenomenal Jeff Bridges performance, who's one of my favorite actors. He's great in everything too. They're both really good in this movie. So yeah, Jeff Bridges plays a DJ, and Robin Williams is a homeless person. So at the beginning of the film, Jeff Bridges is, he's kind of like this shock jock type DJ, and this caller comes in, or a caller calls into the show, and he's talking about how he's a loser and he can't get women and stuff like that. So Jeff Bridges on the show just basically just destroys this dude on the show, just berates him, calls him calls him basically a loser. And unfortunately, that gentleman ends up going on a shooting spree, and that basically crashes Jeff Bridges' career. And then it flash forwards a couple of years later, and then Jeff Bridges' character runs into Robin Williams' character, who is a homeless person. And then Jeff Bridges finds out that they have a connection based on the event that happened. And then the rest of the movie is kind of their relationship as it moves forward. And it's phenomenal. Great movie, great visuals, shot in New York. It's a fantastic film. So definitely highly recommend that. So thanks, Mike, for coming on and giving me one of your favorite movies. So we're going to be on for a few more minutes. Anyone out there that's watching, if you want to give me what your favorite movie is, your favorite actor, your favorite director, let me know what that is. I'm happy to comment on it. Like I said, I love talking movies. And like I said, Mike just came on and provided another movie that I have not seen. Now, Brewster's Millions that we talked about, I had seen it, but I'd forgotten about it. But that particular film, What Dreams May Come, I have not seen. So that may be one, like I said, that I may do with him as a tandem review and watch it and give my thoughts on it. So again, I think We'll be on here for a couple of more minutes. So again, I'll give anyone out there an opportunity to ask or to talk about what their favorite movie is. So while I do that, I'm going to do a little closing here. So again, this is the Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast. This is a live video of the night. And you can listen to the show on Spotify or wherever you get podcast. The show is also available on the YouTube channel, which is Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast. You can watch the lives there, and they'll be archived there as well. The Facebook page is facebook.com/Let Me Bend Your Ear. If you have any show suggestions, comments, or if you want me to review a particular movie, you can email the show. The email is bendyourearpodcast@gmail.com. And the best way to get a hold of me is on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @BendYourEarPod. I'm also on Instagram, Bend Your Ear Pod. You can reach me there, but really the best way to get a hold of me is on Twitter. That is the easiest way. I'm on there basically all day talking movies with people. So yeah, like I said, if you want to talk to me about movies, if you want to come on the next live, DM me and we can discuss that as well. Or like I said, just jump on when I'm live. So again, when I'll be live at least every Sunday, and then I'll come on for shows like this. Again, the show is streaming live on the YouTube channel, the Facebook channel, facebook.com/Let Me Bend Your Ear. If you follow me on my personal Facebook page, it's there. It's also on Twitch and on Twitter. So when I live stream to all those platforms at the same time. And if you want to come on, the link is in the chat. Or if you want to ask me a question like Mike did, just go ahead and do that as well. Again, one last call out there. What is your favorite movie? Let me know what your favorite movie is so we can talk about it real quick before we get off the air. What is your favorite movie? Regardless of genre, what is it? Why is it your favorite movie? Like I said, come in the chat or come on with me live and we can talk about that. So again, this is a movie podcast. I discuss and review movies new and old. Movies are my passion. They have been since I was a child. And it's my favorite thing to do other than spending time with my family. So if you're a movie buff like me, I think you'll enjoy this podcast. And like I said, it's been fun to grow the show and add the video element in, as well as the audio that's already been there. I've celebrated the 3rd anniversary of the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I still enjoy it as much as I did the day that I started it. Hopefully you will as well. So again, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I don't see anybody jumping on, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Again, this is the Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast. If you've been watching tonight, thank you so much. Hopefully you'll come on or ask a question. Like I said, I'm willing to answer any questions, and I want to interact with you guys out there. And thank you, Mike, for coming back on, and thank you for recording the episode with me yesterday. That was cool. I can't wait for that to drop next Saturday. So again, thank you for listening to the Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast live feed. And like I said, you can hit me up on Twitter. That's the best way to reach me, @BendYourEarPod. Everybody have a great week. Take care.